serves as senior lecturer in biblical studies and dean of the Weekend School. Actually, a few years back, I sat down with him and we talked about something like this, and to our surprise, it is happening. With over 2 decades of experience in teaching and leadership, he has served as coordinator of the MA in Christian Ministry and Management. And he has, by so doing, trained a lot of the pastors in Kumasi here and beyond. He is also the chair of the university mentorship team. He has authored several books and published numerous academic articles and reviews for international journals. Beyond academia, he is the founder of the Logos Chapel Worldwide and CEO of the Synagogue Institute of Biblical Languages, the first of its kind. And he is in the person of Dr. Emmanuel Twumasi-Ankrah. With a clap, please, let's receive to deliver the lecture for tonight, Dr. Emmanuel Twumasi-Ankrah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Friend Samuel Odro, the convener of Revival Africa and beyond. Deem it a great privilege to be the one called upon to deliver lecture in the first symposium launch. The representative of the regional minister, Ashanti regional minister, the MCs available, senior clergymen, distinguished guests, Nananum, brothers and sisters. The theme for this symposium is leadership and transformation in Africa and beyond. The crisis, the call, and the craft. Leadership constitutes a crucial yet contentious element in Africa's quest for sustainable development, social cohesion, and economic advancement. Notwithstanding the continent's extensive human and natural resources, it persistently grapples with significant obstacles, including entrenched corruption, ineffective governance, ethnic strife, and widespread inequality. In fact, leadership is a social construct which cannot be ignored in human life. The most critical crisis that Africa faces in the contemporary time is leadership crisis. Mr. Chairman, you would agree with me that nothing is more relevant than leadership. This implies that leadership is very important than any other thing to think of, because leadership is everywhere and it is everything. If you listened attentively to Reverend Samuel Odro, making reference to the days of the Puritans in England, the picture it painted was that human beings are the same. But what makes the difference is leadership. Yes, even in the jungle, to ensure orderliness and achieve collective goals, there's leadership. This speech is going to be my little contribution to the quest for leadership in Africa in general and in Ghana in particular. I'm going to highlight on the need for certain kind of leadership and leadership decisions and practices that can help transform Africa. Leadership is an art of making things happen that might not otherwise happen, and preventing things from happening that ordinarily might happen. So you can see that in leadership, it is an art or a process of making sure that desirable things happen, or bringing to pass desirable things. And then on the other hand, an art of making sure that undesirable things do not happen. That is leadership. Also, it is a process that helps people, it is a process of getting people together to achieve common goals and aspirations. Leadership is a process that helps people transform intentions into positive actions and visions into reality. According to John C. Maxwell, a well-known leadership scholar, he said, I quote, "Your leadership ability, for better or for worse, always determines your effectiveness and potential impact of your nation." The emphasis is mine, nation. He used organization, and I say nation. The crisis of leadership in Africa. There is no doubt, beloved, that Africa is under attack. Ghana in particular is under attack. Why? Because our environment is under attack. Our health is under attack. Our self-worth is under attack. Our life itself is under attack. Our culture is under attack. Our education system is under attack. Our economy is under attack. Our digital community or presence is under attack. And I dare say, any aspect of our life that is not under our control is so because we are under attack. Are we not ashamed of the enthusiastic beggars on our high streets? Are we not ashamed? Are we not ashamed of the mentally retarded citizens of Ghana abandoned on our streets? Are we not ashamed of the road blockers? Some of them, they do so just to extort money from motorists. Others do so for social gatherings. They block roads. Are we not ashamed? Are we not ashamed of bribe takers, of schools under trees, of learners squatting to take lessons? Are we not ashamed of the annual issue of exam malpractices? Are we not ashamed of election violence that we experience almost every 4 years? These, Mr. Chairman, in my opinion, are indirectly formulating wrong mindset in the youth and the next generation. And leadership must stand up. Do we not get embarrassed about the regular annual losses in almost all the state-owned enterprises? i.e. Ghana Water Company, Electricity Company of Ghana, Gihawk, and so on, Greco, and the looting of public vehicles and properties. Are we not embarrassed at this? Sometimes, Mr. Chairman, we yearn for a national leadership that seems not to exist. Our hopes get dashed. For many of us, our so-called leaders disappoint us. Why do we as a people appear as an impenetrable generation against everything good and right? It is like everything good and right, we stand up against it. We will not allow ourselves to be penetrated by the good and the right things that ought to happen in the nation. We stand as stumbling block. Why? Why are we like that? At this level, Mr. Chairman, we need a mindset shift. And this mindset shift can only be possible through leadership modeling. This is because a leader leads the ship, hence leadership. It seems to me that disaster is the only schoolmaster we know and respect as a nation. And even in the face of disaster, our respect has usually been temporary. In the face of the issue, when disaster has stricken, everybody marlows. But within a day or two afterwards, we go back to business as usual, waiting for the next disaster, schoolmaster. Pathetic. Leaders emerge out of crisis. The persistence of a particular crisis in our society is an indication of a lack of leadership. If corruption keeps on happening in this nation, it is an indication of a lack of leadership towards corruption. Nothing more, nothing less. This will lead us to the call of leadership. I must say that leadership is a calling. It is a response to a genuine and a higher calling. It is a response to a call to serve ourselves, our maker, and our people. The Bible addresses the idea of a child as a leader in a few places, particularly within the context of the Old Testament. And in Isaiah 3:4, the text describes a time of societal collapse where God said, I will make mere youth your officials, and children will rule over them. God meant that a time was coming where people that will lead the nation, their behavior, even though they are old in age, they are 60 years, 70 years, 50 years, 40 years, but their behavior will be like children. In Ecclesiastes 10:16, it says, woe to you, O land, when your king is a child and your princess feast in the morning. You see, these verses highlight a sense of societal unease or disease or trouble when immature individuals are placed in positions of leadership. Now, what is the craft? What is the craft of leadership for Africa's transformation? And I'm going to mention some few things. You may consider it as recommendations, but they are very critical. Number one, the craft of leadership for Africa's transformation. Number one is the need for ready leaders, or leaders who are ready. As times go on, from this symposium, from this time onwards, there's a need for ready leaders, or leaders who are ready. What do I mean? Listen. Leadership involves both spiritual preparation and practical execution. Leadership is not simply a matter of euphoria, because you can shout the loudest, you become the leader. One is ready to lead only when he demonstrates that he can lead himself. If we are looking for our next leaders, let us look for people who can lead themselves. Lead themselves to where? Lead themselves in the right direction. He who cannot lead himself cannot lead others and has no business leading others. See, true leadership always begins with the inner person. That is true leadership. And one is ready to lead when he or she demonstrates that he or she is equipped with the capacity to lead with integrity, capacity to lead, capacity to develop and communicate a compelling vision, capacity to solve problems creatively, and build and manage social capital, maintain financial discipline, uphold societal values, and navigate complex interpersonal and institutional relationships. So the kind of leadership we need is the one that is maintenance conscious. Why do I say so? I wonder why we wait till our asphalts roll up like kindergarten mats, like children mats, before we start fixing the roads. Many a times we are not maintenance conscious. The kind of leadership we need is the one which is credibility conscious, integrity conscious, legacy conscious, and the next generation or the future conscious. People who say, today is the day the Lord has made. We should rejoice and be glad in it. Today we die, tomorrow we cannot. Such people are not fit for leadership. Number two, there's a need for what I call ethical leadership. This is where, a leader is willing and ready to apply ethical and strong principles. See, in Proverbs 29:2, Bible says, when the righteous rules, the people rejoice. The opposite, you can think about it. A nation dies when patriotism dies. And that is where we are. Why are we in such states? Many at times, people pay their way into leadership. Paying your way into leadership is a lame footing. You started on a wrong foot. A leader should voluntarily offer to serve the people, or must be entreated by the people to accept to lead. And what I've said is affirmed by John Maxwell. He says, true leadership cannot be awarded. It cannot be appointed or assigned. The power of leadership is observed in visible expression of change. The power of leadership is not in our arms. It is not about how strong we are in bullying people. But this is it. I repeat, it is observed in visible expression of change. When we have a leader here, we must see change. When there is no change, leadership has never existed. You can have all the accolades, you can have all the titles, you can have, miscreants and riffraffs hailing you and calling you names. But if you are not seeing visible change, you don't exist. Leadership is intentional, but not accidental. Leaders in China, for example, they intentionally decided to alleviate poverty in the country. And as at 1980, my research says, their GDP was far lower than their population. But as at now, their GDP is around $1 trillion, about $19 trillion. They took a decision. Leadership is everything. Any so-called leader that engages in and promotes tribalism, politicization, partisanship, is leading the people backwards. We need visible change, not tribalism, not partisanship, not politicization. Another point I make is that there's a need for strong men leaders. Strong men leaders. What do I mean? You remember that in the Parliament of Ghana in July 11, 2009, President Obama of United States of America, the former president, arrived in Ghana. And in the Parliament of Ghana, he made a statement. He said, you need strong institutions, not strong men. We understood him within the context he spoke. Because he was speaking in the context of Africa where strong men took power and became leaders when they were not prepared. We understood him. Likewise, within the current context, I dare say, we need strong men. Else, we cannot have strong institutions. We need strong men to build and or maintain strong institutions in Ghana. By strong men, I mean men of integrity, men of discipline, men of honesty, principle, patriotism. These are strong men. If we do not focus on raising strong men, strong institutions will elude us. Even in future, our institutions cannot be strong if the people leading it and the people operating in them are weak. Unfortunately, our educational institutions, which must be producing such citizens, are in some cases breeding grounds for corrupt practices and for swindlers. A strong leader is one who takes responsibility for resource. A person who will not stop or give up until the agreed goals are achieved. We need to set good and high standards as leaders. We lead people by preparing them to take up or to take over from us and continue from where we will leave off. That is how we lead. We lead the people by sacrifice, by commitment, by dedication. But this is the problem we have in Africa, especially in Ghana. We are called upon to lead the people with discipline. We must have disciplined mindset as leaders so that we can help the people. The current leaders we have to understand, those of us that are here, we are a mirror for the youth of today. And if the youth get it wrong as we lead them, the next generation will get it wrong. Which means that public conduct of leaders today is very crucial. Role models are important. Mentors are important. Leadership is the cause, and all other things is effect. Great leaders shape the mindset and the attitudes of their followers. The absence of godly leaders in any generation affects the next generation. Weak leaders produce weak leaders and weak models for the next generation. A leader must be visionary. A leader must be firm under opposition while empowering others to act. I want to emphasize on this. True leaders, they understand that forgiveness, for example, is a powerful leadership tool that can unify broken societies. Thus, good leaders do not take the path of vendetta. Don't say, you vote for me, I will show them pepper. He started wrongly. We got a wrong leader from that time. African leaders, we are encouraged to take a cue from Nelson Mandela, the late Nelson Mandela of South Africa, about the need to transcend personal pain for national healing. Collaborative negotiation is key in transforming conflict into consensus. And this path leads to nation building. Let me share two more and then I close. We need proactive and decisive leadership. As a people, we need to begin to reject stigmatic, retrogressive, and mentally retarded labels, such as illiteracy. Where in Africa, illiteracy is defined for us. We did not define it. It is defined for us as not being able to read and write, according to UNESCO, 1978. One's inability to read and write automatically categorizes him as an illiterate person. I am saying, one can also know by observation. I am an academic. I know what reading can do. But I am saying that this definition, if we continue to accept this definition, we will not win ourselves from where we are. Because one can also know by observation, by touching, by listening. So that our people who cannot read and write English, we will not leave them out and say, even if we read to them, they cannot make any sense of it, so we leave them out. Even if they cannot read and write English, we must translate to them and speak to them in the language they can understand. Accepting that definition in Africa may not be acceptable in the foreseen or the foreseeable years. Because some of our people are able to read and write in their indigenous languages. Yet they are categorized as illiterates because they cannot read and write English and French. Can the same measure, I ask, be applied to our friends in the West who cannot read and write in Twi, who cannot read and write in Hausa, who cannot read and write in Swahili? We are under attack. We need to carve our own definitions as a people. Another unfortunate label for Africa is being described as a developing nation, underdeveloped nation, deprived nation, third world nation. We need proactive leadership. This is a term for a country with low income economy and less economic and political development than other nations, often characterized by widespread poverty, low per capita income, and limited access to education and healthcare. Watch. Why should Africa embrace such a retrogressive and demeaning tag where the economy of the West relies heavily on us? Have we accepted this just because we want to look pitiful so that they will always hand over aids to us? Oh, we are third world country, and then they give us peanuts. Is that the reason why we are taking such a demeaning tag or label? Experiencing low income. I'm saying experiencing. We don't have low income. We don't have low income. Africa does not have low income, but we experience low income. So experiencing low income and less economic and political development is a choice we have made. Our poor state is fake. On a daily basis, we see poverty, but I am saying it is fake. It is self-inflicting, self-imposing, that needs to be exorcised. Can't we have leadership in our education system? Can't we? Can't we even have leadership as a program? Leadership as a course to be read in schools? Why do we leave it for only those who have interest in taking leadership position? What about those to be led? Both are supposed to be educated in leadership, so that even when leadership are taking certain decisions, those that are led will understand and will cooperate for national development. Can't we have leadership on our media space regarding social media misbehavior, ranging from gangsterism, killerism? These are my own words. I mean, the killerism is my own word. Killerism. Killnet, insult, threatening, money laundering. Can't we have leadership there? 21st century, where we have technology, we allow people to say whatever they want to say and do whatever they want to do in the name of social media, and nothing can be done. This implies that there's a need for a decisive leadership to emphasize on discipline and fight against indiscipline in this nation. We can think of harnessing what I call indisciplined economy, for economic viability. Indisciplined economy. Thus, we can think of causing people to pay money for misbehavior. Let me try to close. When it comes to taxes for national development, our leaders struggle. There are a lot of people who do not participate in paying tax at all, and tax evasion. I call this incentivization of taxes for national development. We can begin to organize young people to go into AI and machine learning to develop apps and systems that can help us track misbehavior and stop the invading of taxes. How are we going to do this? I share with leaders. Access to fuel, access to internet data, watch me, access to mobile communication services, access to banking services, free SHS, stress-free tuition fees, marriage certificate, visa services, etc., can be tied to tax worthiness of the citizens. Somebody say, Jesus. So that if you are in this country and you don't pay taxes, you cannot have fuel in your car. If you don't pay taxes, you cannot have internet data to go online to insult. we need to teach our people how to fish. I call it the teach a man to fish paradigm. We wrote a paper, a friend of mine, one of the best economists we have in this country, he's called Eche Inkuponu. He had a joint paper published this year. The paper was entitled Harnessing Financial Education for Poverty Alleviation in Ghana. Does religiosity matter? That is the paper. You may want to read it somewhere. And we came up with that paradigm. They teach a man to fish. You see, we are fond of handing over, peanuts to people that we think are poor. We give them some few cedis, some few food stuff, which is able to take care of them within some few days. This approach has no significant place in poverty alleviation because the effects of such interventions are not sustainable. Rather, it encourages over dependence and slothfulness. It makes people lazy. There are people we have seen in this country, in certain cities of this country, they have begged for 40 years. Some have begged for 25 years. Every day, they come by the roadside to beg. But even in scriptures, especially in the Old Testament, when God instituted that people were to give to the poor, the Jubilee year, and all those of provisions, the intention was that the tithes, tithes from the Levites were supposed to pay, give part of their tithes to the poor in order. It was to finally help people to exit the poverty web. So that if we gave you grains, we gave you maize, we gave you wheat, sorghum, you got that much, eat some and keep some and sow in the following agricultural year, so that you will check out of poverty, and then following year you and me together we help other people to check out. What are we seeing? Mr. Chairman, as I conclude, there are a lot to share, but I have to conclude now. In today's world at large, and in Ghana in particular, many people have given up. Just as the man of God said, Reverend Samuel Odo. But we do not have to give up. Let us trust that things can work better. Let us trust that things can work better with us in charge. Because of Reverend Afuakwa, because of Reverend Samuel Odo, because we are here, let us be hopeful that things can be better with us in charge. So long as we are part of this generation, things can be better. I didn't hear your amen. I think that if the world cannot be better, our lives and the world must come to an end. So the world is still the way it is. We still have the world. We are still alive because God is counting on us. Let us trust in the Lord with all our hearts, and He will direct our paths. Maybe you are asking yourself, what is the how? How will I do it? Trust in the Lord. In everything is possible, both good and bad, isn't it? Yeah. So I tell everyone under the sound of my voice that if you are not happy with leadership like me, like Reverend Samuel Odo, that's why the symposium is here. If you were happy with leadership, this symposium will be a different program. If you are not happy with leadership, position yourself. 2, prepare yourself. 3, and become a better leader. It is not enough to be insulting leaders on social media, insulting chiefs, president, ministers. It is not enough. If you have realized that you are not happy with the current leadership in all aspects of national life, the path is that Position yourself. If you have to go to school, you got to go. If you have to read some books, you have to read. If you have to attend symposiums like this, you have to attend. Position yourself. If you have to begin to serve your people, your community in some ways, go do that. And then you prepare yourself to become a better leader. Note this. Any problem that irritates you is enough a sign that you are one of those called to deal with it. People who are not reasonably angry about a particular problem are not going to do anything about it because they do not see it as a problem. But we see it as a problem. That is why we are here. Mr. Chairman, I thank you so much, and Reverend Samuel Dro, for giving me the opportunity to share these few thoughts as my way of contribution towards a kind of leadership we need in Ghana, in Africa, and the kind of leadership decisions that we need to take going forward, and the practice. Sometimes it is easier said than done. The practice is also very important. Thank you very much. God bless you.
God bless you, Daddy. Next on our item, we have a panel discussion. And to moderate that session for us is Pastor Twumasi-Ankrah. Pastor, please come and introduce our panels to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Rita. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As Lady Rita rightly introduced me, my name is Twumasi-Ankrah, and I am the coordinator of this session, which is the panel discussion. Wasting much time, I would like to introduce our panel members. And to begin with, we have Dr. Mrs. Richmel Baba. Please let's appreciate her as she comes up. She is a lecturer at the Amstead Business School, an accomplished entrepreneur, and a chartered accountant. Please let's receive our mommy. You're welcome. Next, we also have Dr. Evans Dia, who is also a lecturer and a financial consultant. Please let's receive him. Let's receive him. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, please. Then next, we have Honorable Patricia Pearl Ankrah, who is the MCE for Efija Kwabre South. Mommy, you are welcome. You are welcome. And then last but not least, we have our very own Reverend Charles Agri, a retired ICGC pastor. And those of us at the GTTI fraternity, he is our father. You are welcome, Daddy. You are welcome. All right. So you are welcome, mommies and daddies. And this session, as I said earlier, is a panel discussion to discuss leadership in Ghana and in Africa, and then also to profile solutions that would help in the long run. That would help in the long run. Okay, so to begin with, I would want to first ask this question, and I would throw it to all of us, starting with Mommy, and then it goes on right through to Reverend Charles Agri, I beg your pardon. So my first question is, in your capacity as leaders, as distinguished leaders as you've been risen through the rank, being in leadership for a while, how do you see leadership in Ghana and in Africa? And if you see something you really don't find to be good, how do you solve it, or how do you intend to solve it? I don't know if my question is clear. What leadership challenge you see from where you sit? What leadership challenge do you see in Ghana and in Africa? And how do you intend, or what is on your heart? How do you intend to solve it? So we'll start with Mommy.
All right, thank you very much. So if I got your question correct, they are in two folds. What we see leadership in Africa to be, and then the way forward.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big question. And so if you look at leadership of Africa, from my perspective, not all leaders, but majority of leaders in Africa are more of power, not leaders. I'll say they are more of power because the leaders are more of power, not leaders. I say they are more of power, not leaders, because culture has influenced our leadership. And so realize that when people take leadership position, they are just thinking about what the authority has given them, but not about the ability to direct, ability to motivate, inspire towards something that is good. Because as our speaker rightly said, a leader has a vision. John Maxwell says a leader is a person who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. So the leader knows where he's going. But the challenge we have with African leaders is that most of our leaders are more of position, power, and trying to maintain their position rather than changing the future, rather than having a clear vision of where we want to take the nation to and how to inspire citizens to go there. That is the challenge. I think that we appoint leaders without training them. People are given position, but people don't understand what leadership is. In fact, leadership is capacity and character. You cannot be a leader when you yourself, you don't have the character. What do I mean by that? A leader can only inspire when he himself, he has attitude. When he himself, he's a person of integrity. When he himself or herself has ethical values. That is where people will follow you. I want to quote our speaker. He said, people don't pay tax. Yes, people don't pay tax because people don't see leaders paying tax. If leaders are paying tax, if people see that their tax are being put into productive use, then of course you get people paying tax willingly. So the inspiration is not there, the attitude is not there. We focus more on power. And when I say power, is the ability to coerce given by the position you hold or the authority given to you. But leadership is the ability to inspire and motivate. And you can only do that when you yourself know how to lead yourself. You cannot lead people when you cannot lead yourself. I'll pause here for my other panel members to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Baba.
Thank you so much. So, Dr. Baba is actually my senior colleague at Amstead. So, I'll just take it from where Richmo talked about. So I think it's good that we add data to the things that we say, and I like data because data helps to inform the decision, and it helps us to understand the context that we find ourselves. So according to the World Economic Forum, by 2050, Africa will have 2.5 billion people. In simple perspective, 1 out of 4 human beings will be Africans. So the whole world, 1 out of 4 by 2050 will be Africans. That is to let us know how big and how influential we will be in the world scene. Currently, the median age in Africa is 19.7, which is about 20 years. Europe is 44, China is 42, US is 38. What it means is that Africa is having the most youthful population in the whole wide world. Now, Africa is also going to have the largest working age population. There's a reason why recently you saw a lot of migration to the UK and to the other parts of the world, because they are aging. And we have a lot of youthful, so you see a lot of nurses moving out there and so on and so forth. And now 70% of sub-Saharan Africa is under the age of 30. And what it tells you that if you pick the average African, okay, 7 out of 10 Africans are below 30. It means that we have a lot of youth in terms of the population. Which means that if we are going to make decisions and we are going to talk about Africa, we would not be talking about Africa without the younger generation. And it's important to remember what speaker mentioned, where the Bible says that the young will lead. So Africa is a typical example of what the Bible is saying, that the young will lead. So Africa is in that position where we are going to see a lot of young people that will lead. Now, I want to put it in a simple analogy because for me as a lecturer, it's good you put it in perspective for people to understand. So let's pick a plane. Like Africa is like a plane. I sit in planes a lot. And you have everything working. The fuel is fueled. You have everything. But the pilots, the air hostess, the crew, they don't know how to fly the thing. And it's just sitting there. Now what is happening with us in Africa is that instead of being part of the table and becoming players at the table, Africa has become the table. I don't know if you understand what I mean. So indirectly, we are making people decide our future for us when we should be playmakers on that table. We've not realized how resourceful Africa is. We are the most blessed continent. Any mineral that you want to talk about, so from oil, gold, lithium, bauxite, manganese, timber, and the most important part is the human resource, the human capital, and we have all that. So Africa is so blessed that what we are having and the problem we have is with leadership. But the leadership we have is not that we've not had charismatic leadership, or we've not even had transformational leadership. We've had them. But the problem is that we've not created a system that produces more and more of those leaders we see. Today we are seeing Reverend Samuel Odro, we're seeing Pastor Emmanuel, Reverend Dr. Emmanuel Twumasi-Ankrah, and I'm seeing Pastor Fuako and most of Pastor Boache and the rest. Are we producing after our kind? Myself, am I producing after my kind? Jesus said, go and make disciples of all nations. Are we producing after our kind? When people make it, our rich men, despite and the rest, how many of them are sharing how they got to where they are? You see, the young people now are tired of people telling them how poor they were, how they struggled, and how life was difficult. The young people are telling, teach us how you got there. And that is the reason why such symposium and meetings are important, okay? So I think I'll set the tone from here.
So there's a gap in mentorship.
There's a gap.
Thank you very much. I'll continue from where Dr. ended. I am a politician, so I'm taking it from that perspective, that people are appointed and they are not trained. In politics, your training is on the job. But before you get to the job, how well do you equip yourself for that position. Most people feel an opportunity. Most people feel it's an opportunity to explore and to make merry, but some of us feel it's an opportunity to show yourself that you can make an impact. In my municipality, I'm the first female MC. I'm the first MC. It was a district, and we are now moving to a municipal. So what can I do that in years to come, somebody will feel and think to be like me? In fact, the younger generation. I believe that being a servant leader, coming down to the people's level and learning from them. Sometimes we sit at the top and you feel you know everything. You don't know anything. You come down to their level, learn from them, and they learn from you too. That makes you a best leader. But if you distance yourself from the people and you feel you are the person, the government nominee, and you are the top, you fail the whole generation. Because there are certain things that may need more insight, may need more practical ways, but because you feel you are the top, nobody can approach you, nobody can tell you what you are doing wrong. And that is what is hurting our country now. Most people feel they have arrived, so they are above critics. You don't come down to the people's level to listen to the feedback of your leadership. And that is one thing that is hurting us. When we get opportunities, you mingle with the people and listen to the feedback that is coming from the people. If you are a leader and you have a decision, after some time, listen to what is happening behind. And that makes you the best leader. But sometimes in our system, we feel, I am the boss and nothing but the boss. And that is one thing that is hurting our leadership. Doctor said, when you are the leader, the youth are coming up. In years to come, the youth are going to take the upper stage. What are we consciously doing to nurture them? I am consciously taking along some youth with me. Whenever I'm going for programs, I go with them. Not because I want them to see the big places I have been to, but I want them to also learn. How consciously are we doing this? When you are going for other engagements, how consciously do you get people involved? The youth. Do you give them the platform to lead? And these are things that help us to nurture the leadership. But if we neglect them and we feel we are there, in years to come, we'll not get anybody to be in our shoes. We'll not get people to be the leaders we want. I'm a politician though, but I lead with a Christian value. I lead with the end in mind, that everything I do, consciously or unconsciously, I will account for it. The Bible says that every word that comes out of your mouth will be brought to judgment. So as a leader, if that word will be brought to judgment, then I have to speak good words that will impact life, not to shatter dreams. You go out, sometimes people come to your office broken. You feel their pain. Sometimes you know this person is at fault, but as a good leader, what do? You carry the person along. Give the person hope. Then you let the person know that what you did is wrong. But if we shatter the person's dream as a leader, you take a whole generation down. Nobody feels to come close to you to even learn from you or take something, an inspiration from you. But if you are there as a servant leader, as the people's leader, governed by the principles of God, and knowing, taking conscious effort that whatever you do, you account for it one day, it helps you to become a very good leader and you will impact more generations.
Thank you, Honorable Reverend Charles.
They have come from different backgrounds, and I'm coming from the church. It's very sad to observe that what is pertaining in the society has also come into the church. We are supposed to be the light and salt of this world. And many people come to church on Sunday. They wear the Christian dress on Sunday. And then on Monday to Saturday, they wear another dress. I believe the mistake that has come from the church about leadership is that there is no distinction between the sacred and the secular. No distinction. So if you are a Christian and you are an accountant in your workplace, you are a Christian first. Accountant is a profession. You're going to account for the company's finances. How honest are you? Even in the church, positions, you see, leadership is not positional. I believe leadership is about influence and attitude. Jesus didn't position himself, but he got people around. Fishermen, look at their background. How was he able to transform them? By his lifestyle, by the values he carried about himself. So we come to church, and then I was on a radio station, and I said, a Christian, you can't give bribe, and you can't take bribe. One lady went to church and asked the pastor, he said, oh, if you don't pay bribe, how can you live? Look at it. A leader she is looking up to, look at the answer he gave. So what I'm saying is that it's very sad that it's in the church. We are not producing the kind of leaders. Now when we're recruiting people into the workforce or this, look at the criterion, I put it down. It's credentials, competence, and charisma. This is what we are looking for, but it's entirely wrong. What we should be looking for is that we are looking for moral character, and we are looking for conviction, deep-seated conviction about God, about the principles of God, about the values of God, and Christ-likeness. If in our own corner we're able to do that as the light and the soul, we can influence the society. But we are offering bad leadership from the church. We are offering bad leadership from the church. Because if I appear charismatic, I can do the work. No. The guy is there. And the harmless sisters that are in the choir, he is impregnating them. No, I must say it. I'm in the church. I've been in church more than 40 years, so I know what is happening. It's a sad story. But there can be a hope. And as a speaker was talking about, what I believe will help us is transformational leadership. My brother mentioned it, but we need it critically. If a person is not transformed, put him in a good environment, take him from Ghana and put him at US, he will do the wrong things he's doing in Ghana because there have not been any transformation. Now, how do we value the things that have made us different from animals? You see cruelty. You see wickedness. These are the people who have been subjected and shaped by these traits. They come into leadership. What different thing are they going to do? They will do exactly the same thing. You see, primarily, I believe the culture we were brought in has also have an influence. Now, I had one incident with my daughter. I asked her to do something. And he said, Daddy, it will not work. I said, how? I had a small garden. I said, water it in the morning, in the afternoon, and evening. He said, the plants will die. With my ignorance, I was going to say, do it the way. He said, no, Daddy, I understood it. Like my sister is saying, there are people that have learned something or experienced something that will be helpful to you. A wise man learns from other people. You increase in knowledge. A good knowledge will help you to be a good leader. How you relate with people, value people, respect their views. You have had an experience. The mentorship you are doing is not master-servant. Jesus didn't treat the disciples like that. But if you say we are mentoring, it is that perspective we bring about, which is entirely wrong. So, as light, I insist the light must shine in the darkness. We must live above corruption. As salt, that is what we must do. And if we're able to offer this kind of leadership in a small way, you have a congregation of 100 and you are able to affect maybe 80 of them. They go out. That will work. But the leader himself, there are question marks. He doesn't have any sense of value, no discipline, nothing. I'm sorry, pastors, I must say that some of us, we are disgracing the gospel. We must repent and God will help us.
Thank you, Reverend Charles. I agree. So, if I get you well, you are basically saying we are not being light enough as Christians and we are not being salt enough. And if we should change our attitude, we'll be able to affect the world. Now, our time is fast spent, so I would ask one last question based on what Dr. Evans Diaz said, talking about the young people coming up. It touched me much. I want to find out, in your perspective, in a few words, what you think can be done. I mean, how we can mentor the youth. If the older generation, yes, the older generation is leaving the scene and the younger is coming, to have a future, it means we need to really mentor the youth. How do we go about this in a few words, please? So since Dr. Evans started that, okay, mommy, and then...
All right, so a leader is not the person who does the job. A leader basically gets things done through other people. That's what makes you a leader. So I started by saying that African leadership is more concentrated on position, power, more than relationship. So leadership is a process. And we should move from the level of position to permission, as John Maxwell said. And here, permission here is about relationship. So we should be conscious. Honorable Madam said that carry along the youth, train the youth. Me as a lecturer, I always tell my students, if you brighten your corner, I brighten my corner, and all the others brighten their corner, we'll catch fire, and Ghana is going to change. So I think that for us to be able to change the young ones, we ourselves must change. They should see integrity in us. They should see honesty in us. They should see truthfulness in us. And by doing that, it will be very easy for them to follow our steps. But if they are seeing crookedness in us, then it becomes very difficult for them to follow us and listen to us. Thank you.
Exemplary leadership. Okay.
Thank you so much. So just to add to what my senior colleague Dr. Baba just mentioned, for me, leadership is actually by example. And that is what we all know. Even with children, so I'm blessed to have kids, and I've realized that you can tell them whatever you want to tell them. Is what you do that they do. It's not what you say they do. What they see you do is what they will do. So the most important thing about leadership is that we need to first do by example. The second part is that you can't talk about the future for the youth when you are deciding for the youth. The youth should be involved. They should be at the table. I'll give a very practical example. When I used to be at the bank, I was moved to a branch that was marked for closure. They were making losses. And when I got there, I had come in as the guy who helps to do well in branches. And I could have just come and tell them, do this, do this, do that. I didn't do that. So just like Honorable mentioned, I went to my deputy and I told her, though I'm the new boss here, you were here before me, so you are the boss before I came. What are the challenges that you are facing as a branch? Went on to the relationship officers, the managers, the tellers, everybody, listened to them, repeated the same thing with the customers. Within 3 months, I turned that branch around from being last but one to number one. I did that not because I was the best, but because of what Dr. Baba mentioned. I became like a coach who knew from the goalkeeper to the defender to the midfielder to the striker. I stood outside and I helped them to perform, and they delivered. And at the end of the day, even those who were not permanent staffs
were made permanent and were given jobs. So the best thing we can do is to just create that enabling environment for people to flourish. And that's what we have to do as a country. Just listen to the young people, create the enabling environment. That's how come a Ghanaian who is struggling at KNUST Amstead will get to Harvard and is doing better there. Just the environment. Create that enabling environment for the young people. Don't decide for them. Get them involved. Help them. And they'll score the goals for you.
Thank you, Doctor. Honorable, please in a few words. And then Reverend Agri also give us a few closing words. And then.
Okay. So what I would like to end with is, our world is evolving. And we shouldn't think the young people do not know anything. They know so much. They know so much that we may not even know. Just give them the opportunity to lead. Maybe not on a bigger platform, and their small corner. Give them the opportunity. Tell them to do something. I am here because my elder brother helped me. When I was going through the university, from primary school, he told me to aspire for positions. So I went through primary school as a compound overseer. Then he motivated me that I can do more. I went through the ranks from compound overseer. I went to SS. I took leadership position. When I got into the university, level 100, I became the local NUC secretary through my brother's influence. I became the 2-time local NUC secretary, became the local NUC president. Then after school, I decided to put my hands to something. Served the church, served under good leaders. My pastor told me something that, learn to work for free and you'll be paid more than you expect. So I voluntarily worked for people, leaders. I told them, Ma, please, can I be your PA? Not because I wanted to be a PA, but I wanted to learn from her as a politician, how she does her things, the meetings she attends, how she gets her information. So I learned from her. When I was in the university final year, I would leave from school, go to the field with her, take some points, come back and write my paper and go back. For my final year, I wasn't really in school, so it even affected my GPA. But I learned so much. She wasn't paying me, but I learned so much. So give the young people the opportunity. Lead them. Give them all they need. And I bet you, today, my brother is proud of me. My boss that I served under is so proud of me. Wherever I stand, she boasts that she trained me. And I'm so proud of it. So give the young people the opportunity. And tomorrow you'll be very proud of them. They know more. Thank you,
Honorable. Reverend Agri, concluding for us.
Yes, there's one thing I've seen about leadership in Ghana and also in the church. It's this insecurity at all. It's something that I see, I'll use the word, is demonic. Jesus raised his apostles, and after he's gone, they still doing the work. If I'm able to mentor somebody who is doing better than me, that is fulfillment to me. That I handle this job and this thing. So we are afraid to delegate to them. And then when he goes out to do something and the people are giving him applause, hey, he's becoming more popular. So you will see that some leaders are not willing to mentor because of this. And then the younger generation, I started work at the age of 22 at SIC. At 23, I had become the union secretary. I don't have any, but there was something in me that there was a work to be done. I did that for 2 years, and then I stood for chairmanship, which I occupied for so many years because there was no contender. Because I could do the work. But you know what I did? I got some people around and put what was in me in them. And you see, you can't be be a successful leader without leaving a legacy. And that legacy must be the person who takes over, must perform better than you. If you are the same level, don't done mentorship. And I hope if we get rid of insecurity first, can mentor a lot of people. There is that need. A lot of people are looking for some of us to help them. Make yourself available, and then people will come to you and will impart the values and the experiences and the wisdom God has helped us to acquire, and the nation will get the right leadership. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, our distinguished panel members. This is where we draw the curtain for this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We would like to quickly acknowledge the presence of Reverend Professor Hans Edudapa. He is the Deputy General Overseer of Oasis of Love Church. He is the Vice President of CSIR, College of Science Technology, CCST. Please, let's acknowledge his presence. Thank you. We then take a song ministration from Lady Elizabeth, then we move